Okay, well, let's get back into where we are in the book of Genesis. Of course, we studied the life of Abraham and his deeds and how he was pleasing to God. We looked at the life of Isaac, and still he's around. He's not gone yet. He's still with us, though now we've transferred our attention to his son Jacob primarily. And just catching up here, Jacob now has been or left Hebron to go to the land of Haran because his father Isaac wanted him to pick a wife, have a wife from that area, from the family of his fathers. What was the other reason he took off from Hebron, if you remember, on his way up to Haran? Because his brother wanted to kill him, so that was a good reason to leave town for a while. So anyway, he's been up in Haran now 20 years. 7 years working there for Rachel, which was his father-in-law Laban's agreement, and then another 7 years for Leah, and then another 6 years as a basically to serve and take care of Laban's flock. Laban thought that was going to be a benefit to him. It turned out that, if we remember the story of striped and spotted and streaked and brown sheep, basically God saw to it that he took almost all of Laban's wealth and has now left Haran and took off secretly. Laban caught up with him, very unhappy, but since God spoke to him in a dream that previous night, he's not to say anything good or bad. And so he leave off here with Laban basically saying goodbye. They put an altar up, Jacob and Laban, as a sign of peace. In fact, the altar here is called two things. I'm trying to remember: heap of witness and a watchtower. That it would be a witness and a watchtower that they would not cross this boundary in a violent way. It would be peaceful. There wouldn't be any violence between them. Mike.
I was just thinking about the general principle that Jacob illustrates for us here in his dealings with his father-in-law Laban, and how that if the child of God remains faithful and and continues to press on and good faith and to serve with all diligence, it's not the world that rewards us, it's God that rewards us, because many times the world is determined to set us back,
yes,
to cheat us. And I'm not saying that as an absolute guarantee, because that's what the prosperity gospel type of message is. But there is a general principle that God will bless those who serve him faithfully.
Yes, and certainly spiritually and eternally we have that blessing, even if we have hardship.
Right.
And we see that Jacob had plenty of hardship in his life. I mean, he had to flee for his life, basically, from home. And then he had a terrible taskmaster for a father-in-law that worked him hard enough to where he complained about it. I was cold at night and hot at day. And so he had a rough time. And his rough time wasn't over when he left, because Laban chased him down. And now, too, who's he going to meet up with pretty soon that he thinks pretty much isn't going to have a very good reception? It's going to be his brother, who previously wanted to kill him. So yeah, rough time. Rougher than my week anyway. I tell you that for sure. So let's finish off here with just there's this part, and we'll get on into chapter 32, verse 53. So Jacob took an oath in the name of the fear of his father Isaac. He offered a sacrifice there in the hill country and invited his relatives to a meal. And they had eaten, and after they had eaten, they spent the night there. Early the next morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren and his daughters and blessed them. Then he left and returned home, back up to Haran in Mesopotamia. And Jacob continues his journey south to meet with his brother, hopefully in a peaceful way. So chapter 22, Jacob travels to Canaan, the land of Canaan. We'll look at a couple maps here in a bit and make some things fairly clear, I think, in a while. As far as where we're going to be, we have this one map that we're using that is really helpful as far as this particular journey Jacob is on. So chapter 32, verse 1, So Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's camp." And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. So here's our map here. And there, if you can see on it, Mahanaim. He's coming down, he's south from Haram. He came to Gilead, and now he's at this place. And Mahanaim means the two hosts. So he's named this place the two hosts because it was his host and the host of God that was there. Looking at Psalm 34, verse 7. This is, I think, very applicable to this situation. I mean, why are these angels here? It doesn't say why they're here. I think we can conclude. Not my fault. Okay, we're back. Okay, Psalm 34. Thanks, Don. And verse 7. The angel of the Lord encamps all around those who fear him and delivers them. Now, look at that. It doesn't say the angel of the Lord just camps around people like Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. Everyone that fears him. So this is, I think, at least to Jacob. Now, he may not appear to, those angels may not appear to us like they did to Elisha. We read that account sometime, I think last week or the week before, or appear to us like they do a few times with Jacob and with Abraham. But this is the promise. The angel of the Lord encamps around them. And it's, in this case, I think, why would they appear to Jacob? He's heading into trouble. And I think it's that encouragement, that okay, we're with you. God is with you. His angels are with you. Now, even today, if we look in Hebrews, 1 verse 14, speaking of angels, comparing them to Jesus, who's God's son, and angels who are ministering servants, the writer says this, speaking of the angels, are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for those who will inherit salvation? Angels are here somewhere. I don't know exactly where. I can't see them. I don't know what they're doing, but they're here to minister to you and me and salvation. How they do that, I don't know. How did they help Jacob back here? It's not very clear how exactly, but it was something that Jacob could take as a sign that God is with me. He's with me. The angels are here. We remember at Bethel, that ladder that came out of heaven, and all the angels coming up and down. So, let's learn the message here as we look at Genesis here. God was with Jacob because Jacob trusted in the Lord. Trusted in him. And his angels are there with him. Doesn't mean he had an easy time. He didn't have an easy time. But nothing was going to happen to Jacob that God didn't allow because his angels were there. So as he's going down to meet up with Esau, what's he going to find? In just a minute, we see that he gets a little bit of a report that there's a lot of people headed his way. 400 actually coming up to meet him. Why do you need 400 people just to meet your brother? I can see how this would be tough. But this is to encourage him, and to us too. We go through every day. Some days are a big struggle. The Lord is with us. His angels are around us. Don't worry. Yeah, nobody likes hard times. I'd rather have easy, pleasant times, but they are what they are, and God is with us. Okay, so that's a good lesson for us today. Just as the angels were with Jacob, they are with us as well. Reading on, verse 3. Then Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. Let me pop a map up here again, just so we know what we're dealing with. Down here is where brother Esau lives. Down in Edom or Seir, both call that name. And so he's coming up from here, and Jacob's coming down here, and they're going to be meeting up. Okay, and he commanded them, saying, so here's Jacob saying to his servant, speak thus to my lord Esau. Thus your servant Jacob says, I have dwelt with Laban and stayed there until now. I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, and male and female servants, and I have sent to tell my lord that I may find favor in your sight. Then the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, we came to your brother Esau, and he also is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him. Oh, wow, 400. I mean, that's that would be a concern to me. Even if I'd seen some angels the day before, I'm still wondering, how's God going to work this out? So Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that were with him and the flocks and the herds and camels into 2 companies. And he said, if Esau comes to one company and attacks it, then the other company which is left will escape. Now, is this a lack of faith on Jacob's part? That's the question here. Is this a lack of faith for him to take some precautions? And we're going to see he takes more precautions here in a bit. He presents himself to Jacob in a really wise way. And does that mean he doesn't have faith? Has some wisdom here. Does he know how God's going to fulfill his promise? I mean, maybe God's plan is that, he has a battle with Esau, but Jacob's victorious. He loses half his family, but he's victorious. He doesn't know. Now, one reason you can believe that he's got faith here is that what he doesn't do, even though he takes his precautions, what he doesn't do is turn around and get out of there. He doesn't do that. God said, go back home, and that's what he's doing. So that, I think, is important to see. He's taking some precautions. He's afraid, okay, but he goes on, right? He goes on. He's afraid, but he has courage, okay, and wisdom, like you say, Don. Continues on. Okay, so he's planning out what he might, a strategy, how he can meet up with his brother. Verse 9, that is. Then Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac. Here's a wonderful prayer. Here's an example prayer for all of us. As we're going into something difficult, this would be a great prayer for all of us, each of us, to bring. Something like this. O God, of my father Abraham, someone he's trusted because God has been faithful to his fathers. We can say the same thing. You've been faithful to all your people throughout the ages as we address God. The Lord who said to me, return to your country and to your family, and I will deal well with you. So he's saying to God, Lord, you've told me to do this. I'm coming, I'm obeying your voice, and you said you'd treat me well and things would go well. And I think we can say that to God. Lord, you promised me certain things. You promised to be with me during temptation, and you promised not to bring temptation greater than I can bear. So many promises God gives us. He says, I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which you have shown your servant. Stop there for a second. He admits he's not worthy, and he's not, and neither are we. But that doesn't matter. See, and we're not worthy. We're not like the Lord. We're not great in all our ways. We stumble and fall and make bad choices and give into temptation and sin. Not worthy. But still, God will listen to us, even though we're not worthy. Mike.
Another thing that Jacob did not do here was immediately, after hearing that 400 men were coming with his brother Esau, sat down and count his own men and say, let's see, okay, so his 400 men against
that's right.
my however many men or women, men and women and children or whatever. He evidences by his actions that he is relying upon God.
Yeah, he is. And this prayer shows that, I think. And yet, it's again, such a good example. He says, you have shown your servant, let's see, I'm not worthy of the least of the mercies and of all the truth which you have shown your servant. For I crossed over this Jordan with my staff, and now I have become 2 companies. So he's saying, I came up to Haran, crossed the Jordan, just all I had. That's all I had right there. Had the staff. And now I'm 2 companies with all this wealth and all this prosperity. And he's giving credit to all the blessings. That's one thing, as we pray to God, look, I'm not worthy. You're the one who gives me what I have, and I enjoy the blessings I have because of you. So he says, and here he makes his request, deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother and from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and attack me and the mother with the children. For you said, I will surely treat you well and make your descendants as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. So he's remembering now. He says, don't, spare me, save me, help me, deliver me, because you said that this is something that you would do. And so we can say the same thing. Lord, bless me during this trial. Keep me, help me during this difficult time, or during a temptation, or maybe it's help me to handle all the prosperity you've given me, that I do well with it, that I spend it wisely, and I help others. And this is one good reason. He's remembering what God told him a number of times throughout the years. It's been a number of years. God doesn't speak to us directly, but he speaks to us in something that's just as good. Now, how are you going to remember what God has promised you unless you really are attentive to what he says? And you read his word, and you let it have its impact, and you can say, Lord, you have promised me that I should have prosperity and be saved and be delivered. So I just think a wonderful example of a prayer here by Jacob, when we should take to heart ourselves. Okay, moving on. Verse 13. So he, that is Jacob, lodged there that same night and took what came to his hand as a present for Esau his brother. He didn't give him everything, but he had what he had at hand he could take, and he's going to give now gifts to his brother. He had 200 female goats. This is what I think he's giving. He didn't give him everything because he's still wealthy. We see later on after he leaves Esau, he still has a whole bunch. 200 female goats. That's a lot of goats. And 20 male goats. 200 ewes and 20 rams. 30 milk camels with their colts. 40 cows and 10 bulls. Let's see here. All these critters, man. 20 female donkeys and 10 foals. Then he delivered them to the hand of his servants, every drove by itself, and said to his servants, pass over before me and put some distance between successive droves. And he commanded the first one, saying, when Esau my brother meets you and asks you, saying, to whom do you belong? And where are you going? Whose are these in front of you? Verse 30, right, I think that's that, right? The verse is wrong.
Verse 18?
I think it is. Okay, I just don't have it numbered right. Then you shall say, okay, here's his plan. They are your servant Jacob's. It is a present sent to my lord Esau, and behold, he also is behind us. So he commanded the second, the third, and all who followed the drove, saying, in this manner you shall speak to Esau when you find him. And also say, behold, your servant Jacob is behind us. So every time the drove comes up of the sheep or whatever, he says, what's all this? He said, well, this is your Lord, your servant Jacob, and he's coming along. And then the next drove comes, and he hears the same story. I mean, that's got to be pretty impressive. All this livestock coming as a gift to you from your brother. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me, and afterward I will see his face. Perhaps he will accept me. So the present went on before him, but he himself lodged that night in the camp. So he got it set up. All these things are going on ahead of time. He stays in the camp that night. And now verse 22. And he arose that night and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed over the ford of the Jabbok. He took them, sent them over the brook, and sent over what he had. Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled him until the breaking of day. Really strange here. A man, he says, came and wrestled him to the breaking of day. Now when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaks. And to me, this is really an amazing account here. Jacob is wrestling with what we learn to be an angel of God, and he's prevailing. He's not giving in, that is. He's not giving up. Even after he touches his hip, sets his hip out, he doesn't give up. Verse 26. But he said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. Now, this shouldn't be taken as something as, okay, the Lord told him to do something and he didn't. No, this is something going on here that's bigger than that. It's not disobeying him. So he said to him, what is your name? And he said, Jacob. What's that name mean, remember?
Supplanter.
Supplanter. Somebody who took the heel of his, somebody who took the birthright. And he said, your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed. Then Jacob asked, saying, tell me your name, I pray. And he said, why is it that you ask about my name? And he blessed him there. So he wrestles with, now what we read here is that, I have this out of sequence here or something. Must be after this next slide. Anyway, okay. Sometimes I think my slides go in a certain order, and sometimes they don't. Mike Brenneman knows what I'm talking about. Okay, so he wrestles with, in this account, it says a man. In the next few verses, Jacob will say, I wrestled with God. We look over, and I'm trying to see, let me come back to this verse. I have something out of order. Okay, well, forget it. Over in Hosea 12, verse 4. Maybe somebody could look that up and read it. Hosea 12, verse 4. Yeah, I don't know why that's not on the slide here, because that's pretty important. Over in that particular passage, the prophet Hosea also describes this situation and calls him wrestling with God an angel of God. So it's an angel of God, but at the same time, he's struggling with God. Are you getting that, Mike? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Go for it.
Hosea 12:4. Yes, he wrestled with the angel and prevailed. He wept and sought his favor. He found him at Bethel, and there he spoke with us.
Okay, and the previous verse it says here, why don't you read the previous verse?
Sure.
Sorry.
That's okay. In the womb he took his brother by the heel,
yeah.
And in his maturity he contended with God.
Okay.
And then it says, yes, he wrestled with the angel and prevailed. He wept and sought his favor.
Okay, so this story of Jacob wrestling with the angel of God, was the angel at any likelihood of losing this match? What do you think? Come on, it's an angel of God. No, so it wasn't a case of where Jacob is wrestling against the full power of an angel of God. No way. I mean, because we see what angels can do and we know their greatness, but still, he has this wrestling match, which of course God is controlling his power, or his angel is, and he's prevailing. He's not giving in. He's persevering. And this, to me, it's like this is a story similar to like with Abraham when he offers Isaac upon the mountain there, and is to slay him. That he shows in that particular event his tremendous faith. He trusts the Lord. He trusted he could raise him from the dead, it says later in Hebrews. On this account, what we have is Jacob, who, he was, remember back in the beginning, Esau was that rough and tough guy, hairy guy, went out in the field and shot. And Jacob is described as what, do you remember? A mild man. Wasn't one is better than the other, but he was a mild man. He wasn't like that frontiersman. And yet look at what he does. He wrestles with an angel of God and prevails. Doesn't give in. Holds him there all the way until the sun's coming up, until the angel says, let me go. Wow. That to me is amazing. And I think, again, why God, even though he's promised him already the blessings of Abraham, that his seed would be blessed and all the nations would be blessed through him, yet this is an example of why God would choose a man like this. Because under great adversity, whether it was with his brother Esau or Laban and the taskmaster he was, or now wrestling an angel, he doesn't give up. And I think it has to be an example to each of us. These patriarchs we have, these people in the Old Testament had a lot of faults, but wow, did they have some spiritual strength. And we need to have the same if we're going to please God. So, I wish life was easy. I mean, I do. My body right here, this good-looking guy, he's eating too much, likes to relax and have soft things and go on vacations and sit by the pool and have the sun coming. I would choose that. But that's not a good choice. You know, I need to choose life to live to the Lord no matter what the concern is, just like Jacob is doing what the Lord wants. Go back to this guy that's maybe going to kill you and persevere. Persevere. You know, we had in 2 Peter, give all diligence, we've been studying, to add to your faith, what is it? Moral excellence, and to your moral excellence and knowledge, and to your knowledge self-control, and to your self-control perseverance. You can't be an effective, pleasing Christian unless you persevere. Jacob is a great example of this. And because of this, I think, again, and how God knows all things, he's the man. Abraham's not the man. In fact, I'm going to click over here real quick, and we won't change the subject. I got this tree here, Abraham. Yeah, the blessing came through him, but it wasn't all his children that became the children of, the 12 tribes. Right? Ishmael didn't. He went off. It wasn't Isaac. Isaac was part of it, but it was Jacob that the branches go off. So I don't know for sure why it's God's plan, but this is the right guy here to have all his seed, all this family of people spread out and be the nation of Israel and take possession of the promised land. It at least has to be one reason why God was choosing this man, because he was this kind of person. But this is one of the one of the most amazing events in the Bible. Here's a man wrestling with an angel of God and prevailing. Yes.
So we go from Jacob, laying his head down that night with, fear of this horde from Esau coming. And yet, when he is confronted by an angel of God, he throws himself into it with such determination and perseverance, as you were pointing out, that he overcomes. Now, do you think he woke up in the morning with a different attitude about what was about to just happen? That did it occur to him that if you've just wrestled with an angel of God and prevailed, you're gonna succeed in meeting your brother Esau?
I would think so.
Yeah.
I would think so, but he still has doubt.
Well, sure, he still has.
He's still afraid, and that's why he's prayed that prayer. Is he some people say he's a different man after this than before. Yes. Maybe he is. Maybe so. Or maybe this is just showing the kind of man he is already.
It could be both.
And a sign of it is that he is this kind of man because he persevered through that father-in-law. I had a mother-in-law, loved her, Sue's mom, very faithful Christian, but boy, she would be kind of tough with me sometimes and tell me some things that I didn't want to hear. But the problem is she was usually right when she told me what she thought I should be doing, but it's nothing like this, nothing like how Laban. So he's already been persevering, I think. But I love this story. I think it's an example of perseverance that we really need to take to heart. And life is not going to be easy, not the way it should be anyway. Okay, looking on here to the next verse here, verse 30. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel. For I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. Peniel, the face of God, is what that means. And we'll look at the place in just a minute where that is, not very far from where he is already. So, let's bring up this passage. Did he really see God face to face? I mean, he's using language here. He wrestled with the angel. We read over in Exodus 33 to 20 what he said to Moses later on when Moses asked to see God in person, face to face. God says, "You cannot see my face, for no man can see me and live." So Jacob isn't saying he's seen the full glory of God and wrestled with God, the glorious creator, and won. He has met with him like Abraham met with the Lord back and talked about his promise of his child. And he is seeing his servant and wrestling with him. Sam's got a point to make. Where are you? Oh, you got the mic now? Okay.
We've been talking about that this is, he wrestled with an angel of God for a little bit here. But if you're familiar with this verse, it's kind of unknown. Is it an angel? Is it actually God visiting him? Mm-hmm. And I remember it was Jeff Clark that taught me. He says, whenever you see where it says an angel or the angel, the translation is missing the clues of what, is it an angel or is it God? And he says it's more commonly that it actually is God. It's an angel of God, right? Mm-hmm. So it's his form, it's him coming down, right? So in this one, we'd have to do a word study to see if it's pointing towards a angel of God or the angel of God, right?
So let's pop over to the verse while you're talking there that I wanted Mike to read, and I think it says the angel. The angel, no, it says over here, he took his brother by the heel, and this is Hebrews 12:3, and he struggled with God. Yes, he struggled with the angel and prevailed. That just says the angel.
The angel, so, yeah.
A number of times, though, in the context with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it's the angel of God, which we've concluded is likely Jesus Christ. Yeah. And so in this place, maybe so.
Yeah, it just, as Jacob's saying, seeing God face to face is again pointing towards that maybe it was,
Maybe it was Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did the people who saw Jesus during the time of Jesus, do they see God face to face? Pretty much did, just in human form, right? So we have to understand, in some places it says you can't see God face to face in all his glory, you can't. But when he comes in human form as an angel, the angel, or as Jesus, you can, obviously. Yeah, Don.
The angel of God in the Old Testament had the full representation of God. I mean, it was just like you were saying, and like you were saying that God told Moses, well, nobody can actually see my face, Mm-hmm. So maybe it wasn't being actually God, but it had the full power and representation of God, the full message of God. Yeah. Just as you had Jesus Christ, and then you had the apostles, and Paul the apostle, he had the full power and representation of Jesus Christ and of God. But it wasn't Jesus Christ or God, but it was the full power and representation of that. As we are to be one with Jesus and one with God, so we have the full power and representation also. I know a lot of people don't like to think that, but that's what the Scripture tells us, right?
Mm-hmm. Amen. It's interesting, looking at this, something I was thinking about is that he changes his name here at this event and calls him Israel, somebody who prevails with God. That's amazing. The whole nation now is going to be prevails with God or struggles with God or overcomes with God. Not like as if, against God, but rather somebody who can persevere with God and the struggles that come in life. So, because it's not called the nation of Jacob, it's called the nation of Israel, and it's interesting that that's the name that is chosen to describe all the people, all of the 12 tribes that come out of Israel.
Hey, Bill.
Yo. Yes.
Interesting to note that you have Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Isaac never had a name-changing event.
No. Yeah.
Through his whole life.
Yeah. Good point. So Jacob stands out in this way. Verse 31, just as he crossed over Peniel, the sun rose on him, and he limped on his hip. Therefore, to this day, the children of Israel do not eat the muscle that shrank, which is on the hip socket, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip in the muscle that shrank. Okay, remember that to this day he was referring to when it's written by Moses, so at least to that time, 300 or 400 or 500 years later, depending on how you count some of the time, it is preserved that the people had a custom that they wouldn't eat the muscle from the, this particular piece of meat that was off the shank. Okay, so Peniel, face of God, kind of locate that on the map. It's just right down there below where Mahanaim is. All right, that's where this all happened. Okay. Moving on here. Chapter 33, Jacob and Esau meet. Anything more about that wrestling match? God picked the fight. I say that with all respect. God chose to wrestle Jacob at that time. And his will was done, I think, on that. It showed how persevering Jacob was. Chapter 33. I've got another 10 minutes here. Verse 1. Now Jacob lifted his eyes and looked, and there Esau was coming, and with him were 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 maidservants. And he put the maidservants and their children in front, Leah and her children behind, and Rachel and Joseph last. Then he crossed over before them. He didn't put them out ahead of him and say, okay, well, I'll be the last man to die. No, he just lined them up that way, and they were following right behind him. Okay, I think I read this incorrectly before. It does say here that Joseph went first. Then he crossed over before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. So wow, as you're coming up to somebody, bowing down to the ground 7 times, showing, you're trying to make peace here. But Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. I love that. Isn't that wonderful? And he lifted his eyes and saw the women and children and said, who are these with you? So what a wonderful thing. I mean, this is God's blessing. God said he would make things work. You got to look also and see that these guys grew up together as brothers. I mean, they were twins, right? And though they had that falling out over the blessing and the birthright, which was real hard to take, they still apparently love each other. And that's good. That's a peaceful reunion. He's forgotten about that. As his mother said he would, if you remember back there, give him a few days, he'll forget about it. Okay. So he says, who are these with you? And verse 5. So he said, the children whom God has graciously given your servant. Then the maidservants came near, they and their children, and bowed down. And Leah also came near with her children, and they bowed down. Afterward, Joseph and Rachel came near, and they bowed down. So interesting here. Who's the one who's got the birthright and the blessing? Who's the Lord here, really, of the family? It really is Jacob, or Israel now. But he's showing respect. He's showing, he's trying to be somebody who's showing, he wants to be at peace. And so, I think there's just a sign of respect and peace that he's giving. And, think about it, too. Isn't their father still alive? He is. He's the head. And really, it's not until Isaac dies that Jacob really gets the portions, I think, So he's not really the Lord yet, the Lord and Master yet. That's one way of looking at it, too. But he's being conciliatory. He wants to make peace. And so Esau said, what do you mean by all this company which I met? And he said, these are to find favor in the sight of my Lord. Now that company he's talking about, I think, is what was sent beforehand. All the goats and sheep and everything. What do you mean by all this? Why'd you send all that? And to find favor, but Esau said, I have enough. My brother, keep what you have for yourself. so I don't need it. You don't need to give me that. A gracious gift, a peace offering is really what it is. And Esau says, no, that's fine. I've got enough. Which lets us realize something here too, that, I mean, Esau, even though he didn't get the birthright and the blessing, he wasn't the preferred one by God to carry on the name, his name, to make the nation of Israel. He still was a son of Isaac and Abraham, and so God chose to bless him too, I think, and give him good things as well. So he says, keep it. Next verse, and Jacob said, no, please, if I have found favor in your sight, then receive my present from my hand, inasmuch as I have seen your face as though I had seen the face of God, and you were pleased with me. So this is a big deal with Jacob. I mean, that I can see you, and it's this way, and we're not killing each other. It's like I've just seen God, which he did actually just see the angel of God. Please take my blessing that is brought to you, because God has dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. So he urged him, and he took it. Okay, up there for a minute. I mean, you think about all that gift he gave, the hundreds of animals, and still, he's wealthy. He's still, I don't know what percentage he gave, but he still has so much more that God gave him. So what an amazing companies of people are coming down from the north, down back to the land of Canaan. So verse 12, and Esau said, let us take our journey. Let us go, and I will go before you. So let's come on down and be with me down in Edom, at least for a while, or whatever, down at home. In verse 13, Jacob said to him, my Lord knows that the children are weak, and the flocks and herds which are nursing are with me. And if men should drive them hard one day, all the flock will die. Please let my Lord go on ahead before his servant. I will lead on slowly at a pace which the livestock can go before me, and the children are able to endure, until I come to my Lord in Seir. Okay, so I'll come, but let's do it at the pace that the animals and the children can handle it. In verse 15, Esau said, now let me leave with you some of the people who are with me. So let me give you some people to help you. And still, it's like, but he said, what need is there? Let me find favor in the sight of my Lord. So Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. Now, we'll stop there. So he goes back down home here. Put this map up. Yeah. He goes back home to Seir, and it sounds like that Jacob, or Israel, I got to start calling him, is going to follow him down there. But apparently this doesn't happen till later. They meet up later on because he doesn't go that direction now. He ends up going over to the west. So, I mean, some people say, well, he didn't trust his brothers still and all, Hey, if you're going to have a fight, that was the time. You got 400 men behind you. You're not going to wait till later. So I just think it's just a timing thing here. Either he went down and came back up, and now this is happening, or he goes down and sees him, and they have a good time later. Because here it says, Esau returned to Seir, and Jacob journeyed to Succoth, which is right here, okay? He goes, well, not right here, that's the name. Succoth is right there, okay? Right next to the Jordan. And built himself a house. One of, I think, quite a few, likely, and made booths for his livestock. Therefore, the name of the place is called Succoth, because it means what? Booths. It means booths. It's interesting. A lot of these places are named by Jacob, and that's the name that carries on throughout the nation of Israel years and years later.
Bill?
Yes.
The diversion of Israel to Succoth may have had to do with the condition of the flocks that he said were fragile, and the children, and the time of year. If it were like the summertime, Edom, I think, is more of a desert wilderness kind of area.
Yeah.
Whereas Succoth is,
Well, at least it is now.
yeah, whereas Succoth is closer to the Jordan and would be a place that probably would have pastures.
One thing I wondered was that, okay, now all these animals that were given to Esau, they couldn't travel at a fast pace either, I wouldn't think. So you kind of wonder about the reasoning here. I mean, you think that they would both travel at a slower pace because of the animals, at least. But this is the way it happens. Okay, we're out of time here this morning, and Florento has a hand up. You have a hand up? Wait for the microphone, Florento. Hold on. Okay.
In chapter 33,
Yes.
verse 4, it
Verse
says,
4?
verse 4, it says, Esau ran to meet Jacob
Yes.
and embraced him. He threw his arm around his neck and kissed him.
Yes.
That verse really is telling us that Esau never had any animosity toward his brother. That in fact, he missed him all these 20 years that they haven't
Sounds
seen
like
each other. You know, this is it tells us a good point that in our lives sometimes we notice brothers and sisters, they fight and it lingers on until they die, and they never found any love in their hearts.
Huh.
And sometimes we need to be cautious the way we spend our life. Without forgiveness, we must remember that the Lord will never forgive us.
It could have gone the other way. He could have kept a grudge all that time, and look how it would have ended up. But he didn't. Right? Yeah. Very good. Thanks, Florento. Thank you for your participation. We'll dismiss for about 10 minutes or so and get back to our worship service.